Hey guys, back again. I think I've got some success with this piece of wood, and I'm telling you, I got my match. I met my match today. This is very difficult to find dry wood in this environment, and again, it's just so indicative of a survival situation. You know, if I was in a survival situation and people were counting on me to start a fire, it's just it's a tough environment to do that in. Spending a lot of calories, doing a lot of work, searching around, looking at stuff, cutting stuff. You know, and sometimes you cut things and you get into them and, you know, you realize it's just junk, kind of like that piece that I cut before. And those are all calories that you've just expended, that calories and time. And if you need a fire in a quick situation, this is a tough environment to do it in. But again, that's why you got to come out and practice your skills. And, you know, so each time you get more and more efficient. You know, until I'm, you know, as good as Les Stroud and Ray Mears and some of those other cats. You got to keep coming out and practicing. Even those guys will tell you got to come out and practice in all different conditions, because every day you come out here is different. So I'm going to go ahead and process this piece. I cut this piece. This looks pretty good. This was lying. I cut the piece that was suspended off of the floor. It's still just soaked from last night, so all this bark's going to have to come off. But I figured we could go ahead and process this and see what we got inside. But I'm pretty hopeful, although it's a pretty heavy piece, so I'm hoping it's not completely waterlogged. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it, and this is where a hatchet or an axe just beats everything in your bag. And again, I'm not, you know, against an axe. Love the hatchets. Told you guys I'm researching Wetterlings, some of the GBs, things like that, and I'll probably pull the trigger on one of those pretty soon. But that's where that would come in so much more handy on something like this, as opposed to sawing straight through it. You know, a couple hacks with the hatchet, and then you're in. Hatchets, you know, will run 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds, and can pack away in your bag. Axes, I'm not really that big on, just because of the size of how big they are. But they are much more efficient, no doubt about that. So I'm going to go ahead and process this with the saw, and then I'll come back and baton through it with the heavy Bowie and keep working on the Bark River. I'm getting tired. Oh, not really, but man, just tough wood. This is going to be a tough piece to go through, but Ka-Bar Large Heavy Bowie. Gone through pieces like this before with her. Plenty good work. Oh yeah, I'm going straight into a knot. Big old knots at the bottom of this thing. We should be pretty good with this piece of wood, I hope. That is a lot of stress on that blade. A lot of stress on that blade. Ooh, nice bend. Nice bend on this puppy going through this wood. This is a tough piece of wood with these knots at the bottom. There you go, look at the grain structure of that wood. And you can see just why it's so tough going through those knots. But Heavy Bowie does good work. Let's see how Bark River does. Man, what a great knife this thing is. Nice, I love when that happens. It's a tough piece to split too, because you can see it's sort of banana shaped. So, but usually my criticism with my Carter handles is that they don't absorb any of the shock when you're batoning through the wood. But this one feels pretty good. I mean, I gotta be honest though, it's a lot of it has to do with the wood and what you're going through. This is not a walnut or something like that. So, you know, if you're going to go through a piece of wood that's really hard, it's typically going to vibrate the heck out of your hand, and that gets really annoying. This is some pretty decent wood, but I'll tell you, there's some pieces on it that just won't work. Move you guys down a little bit. That thing's gonna have to come off. You guys know that I'm not an expert at sharpening, but I'll tell you, I'm getting a little bit better. Getting a little bit better. When that happens, watch out. But I spent some time last night putting some edges on my D2. D2 steel you want to keep sharp. Don't let that go dull, because it can be a long process to get that thing back sharp again. The Ka-Bar Large Heavy Bowie is 1085 steel. Very similar to, obviously, 1095 steel, so holds a decent edge, but it's pretty easy to put one back on. The D2 steel will hold, in my opinion, a really good edge. Longer, but it can be more challenging to take more time to put an edge back on it. This stuff in here is just not going to work, but I can't get it out of there. So I may have to saw through that piece, because this whole piece in there is just soaking wet. I'm just wailing on the tip of that knife, so. This thing does a fantastic job of splitting wood. If you guys are wondering why I don't have a glove on this hand, it's because I want to test out the vibrations of it. Sometimes if you have a leather glove on, it'll do a decent job of absorbing that shock, but none to speak of so far. Great blade. Really enjoying this blade. What I'm going to have to do now is practice my convex sharpening, though, to keep this thing rocking and rolling. And here comes the rain.